Hello to our audience and welcome to the MAPcast. This is Paul Alley. Here at MAPcast, we shine a spotlight on leaders in the B2B space who have invaluable experience and insights to share. Today, we're talking to Alex Buck with Applestone, one of the leaders in the vending space. I'll let him describe his business a little more to you, but great to finally meet you, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, Paul, thanks for having me. Excited to have a little conversation today, and hopefully there's some great nuggets we can pull out of this.
Yeah, me too. So, can you share a little bit about your background just as a preliminary and kind of how you got where you are today? How did you end up at Applestone?
Yeah, I spent about a decade in the CPG space with Pepsi and Frito-Lay, growing kind of sales and management experience, and then just realized CPG wasn't a place I wanted to be forever. So I wanted to get a little bit more technical on what I was involved with. I spent a little over 3 years with a payments company called Cantaloupe. And Cantaloupe structure was unattended payments, particularly in the vending space, and SaaS software that helped operators of multi-unit vending machine operators be more efficient. And then was recruited to join Applestone, and here's where we're at. It's been a real interesting journey, and from somebody going from Fortune 100 to large publicly traded company at Cantaloupe now to 6-person startup has been quite the transition, but something that I would encourage people to try if they haven't done it in their career. Startup is an interesting place to be, and certainly force you to learn.
And now that's an interesting story. Can you tell me a little bit more about how your role has evolved and how it fits into the sort of the bigger picture there?
Well, and anybody who's part of startups knows that you wear multiple hats. And so while I was brought on to build and lead the sales team, there's certainly been aspects where I've been very involved on the product development side of things. Getting something that is idea phase to market ready has been definitely something that I've been involved with. Leaning on the sales experience, leaning on how do we make this a marketable product for our customers? How do we make this something that solves a valuable problem, whether it's in the traditional vending space or in unattended retail, which that phrase just continues to get thrown around. That means a
Mhm.
lot of different things at this point. And so, definitely the sales side of things, but also, as we look to structure the products and the go-to-market strategy, I've spent a lot of time focused there, getting us up to speed, kind of where we're at today.
Ah, I see. So, if you and I were stuck in an elevator together, what would be your elevator pitch for Applestone?
Yeah, so we allow any customer to dispense any type of product they want to out of just about any type of machine. So we're machine agnostic. Our solutions basically run the front end of a kiosk or a vending machine or a smart locker, and it allows us to dispense any number of different things from fresh, highly perishable food products to consumables to regulated products like vape, nicotine, cannabis, alcohol, over-the-counter medications, kind of you name it, we can go ahead and do it. We really pride ourselves on being the software arm that makes all those things work. And if somebody comes to us with a problem, and we can find a hardware solution that solves that problem, our software can run that piece of hardware.
Fantastic. So I imagine you have hundreds, maybe APIs that you've developed.
Yeah, my developers certainly don't love it when I bring them new crazy ideas for
Right.
integrations, but that's really where we've kind of hung our hat of like, whether it's a regional or national grocery chain that wants to integrate some sort of unattended solution to their retail offering, or it's a vending operator that wants to do ID verification. If there's a need and a use case for it, and we can pencil it out, ultimately, we've got the ability through our APIs to make those integrations work.
Yeah, I noticed I was reading your LinkedIn. There was an announcement about 8 months ago that you're working directly with OEMs now. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's really part of our focus on being machine or hardware agnostic. Is that if you look at maybe the more traditional vending arena, you've got some pretty antiquated, old school protocols that communicate between machine and software. There's a lot of folks that are bridging the gap between smart machines and connecting directly to the computer on that machine, And we just have said we'll work with anything that has the right age of computer. So we're working with certain types of
Mhm.
computers. As long as it's relatively new, we can do the integration. And so as we look at OEMs, whether they're overseas or domestic, we look at, again, solving problems, trying to find areas where our product can solve a use case or a value proposition for a particular customer. Again, whether that's dispensing anything or vending something, or just allowing a consumer easier access to a particular product.
And I assume your whole solution set sits in the cloud. It's a pure SaaS offering.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. What are some of the major shifts or trends you're kind of seeing specifically in the vending industry right now, and what do you foresee in the future?
Yeah. Well, I think I've been in the vending industry for a long time. From my time at PepsiCo, we were putting the first credit card readers and connecting those machines, to the network, to the cloud. So I've seen that level of transition now to where you're looking at kind of this idea of unattended retail is this super broad stroke of like, what even is that? You look at the Amazon self checkout stores, you
Yeah.
look at self-checkout kiosk in traditional retail. You look at unattended micro markets in airports that are managed, only by a camera. So like this whole idea of like, again, really, it's allowing customers the ability to purchase products in the easiest possible way for them. And a lot of consumers just like, ease of use. They don't have to deal with an employee. They want to just grab their item, make their payment with whatever, payment method they use, and
Hmm.
get out. And so we're trying to make that a reality for anybody, whether it's, standing in line at the pharmacy for, a an over the counter medication that you need for your kid, and you've got to get it from the pharmacist. To, well, let's put that in a, lockable ID verified, kiosk that we can dispense from. Or
Hmm.
if it's reducing the potential risk to serve underage individuals, nicotine or tobacco products. The beautiful thing about machines is that, they follow the set of rules. So if we're looking for an ID verification and that's the required piece to dispense something, if your face doesn't match the picture or the age doesn't match the verification that we need, then you're not going to get the product. And so it's really about taking this idea of like, we're finding specific problems to solve and solving them. But the industry really just continues to change, and you've got a lot of consumers just
Yeah.
preferring to go the unattended route to make those purchases. And Amazon delivers to your door. So many people live in apartments. They want convenience. They want product, in the basement. They want to be able to, walk down the street and pick up the things that they need. So this idea of kind of last mile logistics has been something that, the vending industry has been really good at for a long time. And I think
Right.
vending operators, people who own, many vending machines, are starting to get creative in the way that they're offering products that, you wouldn't normally see in a vending machine.
Right.
Whether it's, sundry items or fresh, fresh food, grocery style foods. These things are popping up more in vending machines today than they ever have in the United States. And that's really, following on the heels of what you can do in Europe and what you can do in Asia,
Japan.
around
Yeah.
kind of what is vending. And it's just
Yeah.
like, people in America just need to wrap their mind around, you can get high quality things from a machine. It can be a great experience, and super easy, super fast.
Well, it sounds like one of the biggest challenges that you might have is just focus. There's such a massive market out there with unattended retail. How has that blow up of the market kind of impacted your business, your growth strategy? Can you kind of give me more of a like an attack vector that you're on now?
Yeah, I think initially, so I've been with Applestone a little over a year and a half at this point, and I think the first year it was kind of like we were chasing squirrels. It was like any opportunity that came by, we were kind of, trying to address it, and doing a lot of reading of how startups really become successful,
Yeah.
because a lot of startups have this period called pivot. And it's this idea that the initial strategy, the initial focus of what you had intended to do, maybe isn't the thing that's going to get you ramped up
Right.
fastest. And so we had a pivot kind of in December and January. It was like, we're trying to be everything to everyone, and we're trying to solve every problem. And it's like, we've
Hmm.
got some very marketable solutions right now that are ready to go. Let's be more laser focused on the things that we can deliver on today, rather than telling a potential customer, yes, we can do this, but the roadmap 6 months from now. We still have those projects, and the development team is still working on those things. But our focus really changed in January to be like, okay, let's sell what we have access to. Let's build on the relationships with the OEMs that we have. let's leverage equipment that we have already done the integrations with, and that's been a much better plan for us in 2025. We found a lot more success being a little more focused.
Yeah, and that's typically the case. So what's kind of based on this pivot and the new strategy, what's working well for you right now, and what's been more frustrating for you?
Yeah, I think leaning on some of the things that are our core competencies. From our software perspective, we really feel like we track purchases and products best in the industry, down to
Hmm.
the actual UPC code, the barcode that's on the product. So that leads us to be really competitive in a space where regulated products are being sold. We
Right.
can, track back to a single unit that goes to a single, person. Whereas a lot of the other software in the industry can just tell you, yes, you dispensed a bag of Doritos. We could tell you exactly what bag of Doritos it is, and that has opened some doors with controlled products that we probably wouldn't have opened before. So, kind of hanging our hat on our core competencies around the way we track products, the way we ID verify, our flexibility around some of our OEM partners and their strategies. So as they come to us and say, "Hey, we've got a big focus in smart lockers or coolers or freezers, like we can jump in on any of those things. Let's jointly do the integration. Let's go jointly sell." That's been a really valuable strategy for us as well.
Oh, fantastic. So from your perspective, from a sales VP, what metrics are you most focused on improving?
Yeah, well, I think we again we took the first year to really productize what our offering was,
Yeah.
and in a lot of those cases, I think we were just a little ahead of the industry on what they kind of considered normal. And so, as you're trying to like solve a problem that truly exists, and there are numbers behind it, and people recognize, yes, there's a problem here. And then we present a solution that nobody's ever considered before. That's a tough hill to climb. And
Yeah.
so, for us, it's really been about, finding the opportunities where we can go place assets. We can win with the products that we already have. And so, those metrics and we're looking at, number of placements, number of connections through our resellers, our OEM partners, our direct channels, all the above. So as we add these OEMs and we add, reselling partners, that's just bolstering what we're offering, making their product offerings, making their solutions catalog continue to grow from their perspective, and we kind of ride along with it as the engine that makes it all go.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like partnerships have become very important for you, more so than direct client contact. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we found some really good partners. That again, it's about linking the partner with the opportunity. And so as we've uncovered some opportunities, we've found partners that have experience in that space and
Uh-huh.
potentially have a missing puzzle piece in their offering. And if we can present them that winning puzzle piece and do it in a way that everyone gets a taste of the revenue, then everybody's in a really happy place. And our partners are very willing to push our solutions. We're willing to support them in any way that we can, and we continue to. We look at it as widgets. Like if these folks are already selling things in certain channels, can we add another widget to that channel and make their offering even better? And so that's kind of been our approach to partnership selling, is identifying these channels where they've got missing widgets and presenting them a widget that solves a problem that doesn't require really any additional thinking, and they can just continue to sell as they would with another arrow in their quiver.
Ah, fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a great strategy. Where do you kind of see the business 6, 12 months from now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're definitely in an inflection point where we've got a number of what we would consider as enterprise level pilots that are floating out and about right now and gathering critical data. Assuming that data comes back positively and the pilots are successful, I think that totally changes the game of how we're going to market. We can sell behind data at that point rather than selling this idea of proof of concept or pilot, and that's going to make a big difference. I came up through the Pepsi network, calling on working with distributors and wholesalers and being an influential salesperson. And so I think that's going to be a big piece of what we bring to the table is continue to grow, continue to be influential with our partners, suppliers, OEMs, and continuing to just improve those relationships and have us be top of mind. And once we deliver some success for these folks, hopefully we can continue to build upon it with other solutions in similar spaces.
Okay, great answer. If there was one thing that's kind of hindering or slowing down progress, what would you say that is?
I think anytime folks are involved with importing hardware from overseas, you've got a lengthy lead time, and so part of what
Yeah,
we're doing right now is working through developing a North American distribution network on some of our key hardware solutions to minimize that lead time and provide some additional services to our customers when they go ahead and buy that hardware. We're not in any form or fashion the hardware supplier, but our hardware suppliers are very important to our go-to-market strategy. So having domestic distributors is a big key to the way we plan to scale and continue to grow. And we're working through some of those things now. So definitely improving our timeline on customer orders is one thing. And any sales guy loves to push his development teams. I'm always pushing them to continue to develop, continue to work on projects as I bring them new things. Again, they may be months out, but just kind of continue to say, hey, this is a realistic opportunity. Here's what the addressable market may look like for this particular play. Let me know when we're ready to go. So some of it's development, and that's just the standard battle between sales and product, and then our go to market timeline on getting hardware from overseas. Those are a couple challenges. Nothing we don't have solutions for.
sure, sure. How many direct salespeople do you have?
One. Uh, yeah,
All right.
it's a lean team. You're
Yeah,
you're looking at them, and
yeah,
so I think that's part of the model as we continue to go too. It's like as we scale, as we determine where opportunities lie, we're certainly willing to put bodies behind it, but it's got to make fiscal sense, and it's got to make strategic sense for us. And as we develop these relationships with distributors and OEMs, it may be a bit of a hybrid model where the sales team is calling on and supporting a distributor. They're pushing some leads that distributor's way and pulling some opportunities through them. And that's maybe a little bit of the model, but I think we're kind of at that precipice of, successful pilots determines what our next step is on staffing up. And we didn't want to staff up too quickly, as right now we don't need it.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I talk to a lot of startup or mid-tier SaaS companies because that's our business too. Map AI. We help grow revenues. So let me ask you something. If you could speak to your younger self, and this is sort of advice for the junior folks that might be watching the MAPcast. If you could speak to your younger self, what advice would you have for yourself?
The one word that comes to mind is patience. Um, you get in a Fortune 100 like Pepsi, and
Hmm.
there's a cadence of every 18 months. If you're a high performer, every 18 months you're changing roles, changing jobs, getting different experiences. And while that's exciting, that's not necessarily the reality of the real world. And so I think I was set up to be not very patient at Pepsi. And when I left Pepsi, the kind of the reality of patience kind of comes in, that it's okay, and there's value in building long-term multi-year relationships with customers. And
Yep.
maybe it takes a little bit of time to build, but there's value in that. This last 18, 20 months while I've been at Applestone has been a big challenge in patience of just like, the expectation coming from, a very quota based, quarterly quota, experience with Cantaloupe to,
Yep.
now we're building everything from the ground up. So if I would have set, quarterly quotas for myself, I might have missed a couple as we build this thing. So it's about understanding kind of patience, and it takes time to build great things. And I would tell myself to enjoy the ride a little bit and not be so worried about the next thing on the horizon, but to enjoy the ride.
That's similar advice to what I would give my younger self and similar advice to what I give my own kids. So I appreciate your input and thanks so much, Alex, for joining the podcast today. We're really grateful to be able to share I feel like they're invaluable insights with our listeners. This is Paul Alley, and Alex, would you like to sign us out?
No, just appreciate the time today, and it was a great conversation. And again, hope people can glean some cool things from it.
And that'll wrap it for the MAPcast for today. Thanks a lot, Alex. We
Thanks,
really
Paul. Nice to
appreciate
meet
it.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.